Good morning, everybody. This is Denise Tawwab. I'm coming back to you today to continue the series on this special publication 850. Today, we'll be talking about developing IT security awareness and training material. Okay, to let you know where we are in this particular 850 series, part one, we talked about the intro to information security awareness and training. And this publication is about standing up an awareness and training program for information security. So we've done the overview where we talked about the components of awareness, training, and education. In part two, we talked about how to design an awareness and training program. And today in part three, we'll be looking at developing IT security awareness and training material. In part three, we'll talk about developing awareness material, and that's how do you select the topics and where do you get your awareness material. And then we'll talk about developing training material. We'll look at a model for building a training course that's covered in publication 816. And we'll talk about sources of training courses and materials. So, first up, developing IT security awareness and training material. Things that you need to consider when you're looking at developing your awareness and training material. You want to talk about what behavior do we want to reinforce, and that would be for awareness. What skills do we want the students to learn and apply? Of course, that falls under training. In both cases, whether it's awareness or training, the focus should be on specific material that the participants can integrate into their jobs. Your students will pay attention and incorporate what they see or hear in your sessions if they feel like the material was developed specifically for them. You want to make your material as interesting and as current as possible. You also want to avoid any material that feels canned or generic. So, awareness material versus training material. What are we talking about? Let's do a comparison. Awareness material, the goal of awareness material is to focus attention on good security practices. The goal of training material is to produce relevant and needed skills and competencies. The audience for awareness material is going to be everybody in the organization. The audience for training material is going to be a very specific audience depending on the class. So a training class is directed at a specific audience. Awareness material is for everybody in the organization. Awareness material, the messaging and awareness materials, the message that awareness sends should be short and simple, and it should make your students aware of commonly shared IT security requirements. The message for training should include everything related to security that the specific attendees for that particular class need to know in order to do their job. In awareness material, you can address one topic or it can address a number of topics about which your students should be aware. And the message can be spread, the awareness message can be spread through an awareness program or campaign. When it comes to training, material is usually far more in-depth than material that is used in awareness sessions or campaigns. All right, one thing you need to be aware of is that when you're trying to change people's security attitudes and behaviors, you're going to face a challenge. New security policies often conflict with the way users have done their jobs, sometimes for years. And I'll give you an example. Agencies that once operated with the full and open sharing of information are now being asked to control access to and dissemination of that same information. That is going to require a behavioral change in people who are used to doing it the old way. One technique that has been successful is to begin an awareness module or session by discussing IT security issues in the context of personal life experiences. For example, identity theft, inappropriate access to personal health or financial data, and hacking incidents. Somehow tying it to the personal kind of helps people make the connection. I'm sure there's psychology behind that. Okay, an awareness campaign versus an awareness program. What is that? Your organization may decide to mount a security awareness campaign to focus on a particular issue. For example, if users are being targeted by social engineering attacks or by a particular virus, an awareness campaign can be quickly implemented that uses different awareness techniques to get the word out. An awareness campaign is different from the normal implementation of an awareness program by the need for timely dissemination of information on a particular topic or a group of topics. Okay, so we're going to look at developing awareness material. That was my overview. We're going to look at developing awareness material and developing training material. First up, developing your awareness material. Okay, awareness material answers the question, what do we want all agency personnel to be aware of regarding IT security? What do we want our people to be aware of about IT security? The awareness and training plan should contain a list of topics. Email advisories, online IT security daily web news websites, and periodicals are good sources of ideas and material. Your agency's policy program reviews, internal audits, internal control program reviews, self assessments, and spot checks can also identify topics that you might want to address in an awareness program. A significant number of topics can be mentioned and briefly discussed in any awareness session or campaign, and topics can include password usage and management, protection from viruses, worms, Trojan horses, etc. You can talk about your policies and the implications of non-compliance with those policies, unknown email or attachments to email, web usage, acceptable use policies as it surrounds the internet. You can talk about spam. You can talk about data backup and storage, social engineering, incident response. Who do I call and what's the number? Shoulder surfing, changes in the system environment. You can talk about inventory and property transfer. For example, media sanitation. What happens when you get rid of a mobile device? Handheld device security issues, the use of encryption when you're sending confidential information over email, and you can talk about laptop security while traveling. This is just some of the topics that you can address in an awareness program. Other topics are timely application of system patches, software license restriction. I mean, what software can we use and can we use copies or not? What software is supported and allowed on the system. This is part of your configuration management. You can address least privilege, separation of duties, individual accountability, visitor control, and physical access to spaces. Just teaching your people not to let any and everybody into the physical plant. You can discuss desktop security, protect information subject to confidentiality concerns, email list etiquette, and personally owned systems and software at work, whether you allow that or not. So that's a lot of awareness topics, and there are many, many more. But again, in an IT security awareness program, you're just trying to keep security top of mind. You're not trying to teach a specific set of skills. You just want people to be aware of the things that they do that impact the security posture of the organization. So, some sources of awareness material. Where do I get this material from? Email advisories issued by industry news groups, universities, or your own IT security officer. You can find awareness material on professional organizations and vendor websites. I know that SANS Institute publishes a newsletter called Ouch, that is a very good awareness newsletter. I think it's monthly. Online IT security daily news websites, periodicals, conferences, seminars, and courses. And you can also purchase your awareness material from a vendor. And if you choose to outsource or purchase your awareness and training material from a vendor, you may want to take a look at 835, which is your guide to IT security services. And I've also done videos on that publication, 835. And take a look at NIST Special Publication 864, Revision 2, that talks about security considerations in the system development lifecycle. Those two publications will help you address some of the things you need to be thinking about when you're outsourcing. And again, this is for federal organizations, so it may not be applicable if you're adopting it in the private sector, but there may also be some helpful information in there as well. So don't say no to at least taking a look at those two publications. So, things to think about when you're developing an awareness material. Awareness material can address one theme at a time, or you can combine a number of themes or messages into a presentation. For example, a poster or slogan on an awareness tool should contain one theme, while an instructor led session or a web based presentation, a webinar, can contain a number of different themes. So, if you're going to create a poster, let that poster focus on one message. But if you're doing a whole session, a class or a webinar, then you can talk about a lot of different topics for your security awareness audience. The key thing is that the information should not overwhelm the audience. After a certain point, people just stop listening. Do a brief mention of requirements, which are your policies, the problems that the requirements were designed to address, and actions that your people need to take in your typical awareness presentation. So don't overwhelm people. Just tell them, here's the policy, here's what can happen and why we have this policy, and here's what we need you to do. And again, this is part of developing your awareness material. On the screen, I've just went out online and got some screenshots of awareness material. What's on my screen now is one for email use guidelines, where we talk about do not use your government email account irresponsibly or for personal purposes. Do not disclose your government address without any consideration. Do not mix your government email with your personal email accounts. And then there's another flyer on strong passwords, where we talk about follow these easy tips to make sure that your password is easy to remember but hard to guess. Both of those topics are topics for security awareness sessions. Another example on my screen is, are you a security risk? And it just sends the message that security is the responsibility of everybody. Then there's another poster that says, always be careful. Information security is as simple as ABC. Another sample, again, that I just downloaded from the internet. Loose lips sink ships. Be careful. There's always somebody listening. Wait until you're somewhere private to have a confidential conversation. So again, information security awareness posters, and these are examples. Here's one, counterintelligence tips, that just talks about protecting sensitive information when you're traveling abroad. There's another policy on phishing. There's another, not policy, poster. And your awareness material doesn't have to just be posters. On my screen, I have a keychain that sends an awareness message about phishing. Then I also have a coffee mug that gives the information, gives the contact information for the information security team. And when I saw this graphic online, I pulled it because my daughter sent me this. She works in an IT department, and she had a mug for the security team, and she sent me one of the mugs. I know that's off topic. Okay, the bridge between awareness and training. A more complex awareness presentation that incorporates security basics and literacy material should go into more depth on a particular subject. Chapter 3 of NIST Special Publication 816, which is on role-based training, has a chapter. Is chapter 3 is on basics and literacy, and it truly is the bridge between awareness and training. So the increased level of complexity and detail is appropriate. So you've got everybody, you want them to be aware, and then you've got a body of employees that you're going to actually provide training to. But how do you get them from awareness to training? Take a look at NIST Special Publication 816, Chapter 3. It is called Basics and Literacy. And this is where you just begin to talk about the language of security and introduce some basic security concepts. Okay, let's talk about training and how we develop our training material. Training material answers the question, what skill or skills do we want the audience to learn? The awareness and training plan should identify an audience or several different audiences that are going to receive training tailored to address their specific IT security responsibilities. NIST Special Publication 816, and I'm going to do videos on that as well. Information Technology Security Training Requirements, a Role and Performance Based Model is the title of 816, contains a methodology for building training courses for a number of different audiences. And we'll discuss this methodology in the NIST publication. So 816, a model for building training courses. So here we go. NIST Special Publication 816. And this is going to be a brief overview. 816 gives you a useful tool with which to develop IT security training courses. So we're going to talk about the purpose of 816 and how to use the methodology to develop training courses. So the purpose of 816, it represents IT security training needs in the current environment. It identifies 26 roles that have some degree of IT security responsibility. 816 provides flexibility in its method for extension of roles and other parameters to accommodate future technologies and organizational roles. It allows for training courses to be developed at the beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels of training. 816 gives you sample learning objectives for each level to guide your courseware developer. And your agency or your company should consider using 816 to map needed training to new and existing roles that have significant IT security responsibilities. So, some resources for building a training course include the IT Security Learning Continuum Model, 26 roles and role based matrices, 46 training matrix cells, 12 body of knowledge, topics, and concepts, 3 fundamental training content categories, and 6 functional specialties. This is what's provided in 816. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So, once your audience has been identified as needing IT security training, you can look at Appendix E in Special Publication 816 to assist in course selection. You can tailor this approach based on specific positions in your organization. Some agencies rely on professional training development specialists to develop the training material. But since your training development specialists are typically not IT security professionals, I'm one of the exceptions, the specialists will work closely with the IT security staff to ensure accuracy of the material as well as the proper level of complexity. Within each matrix of the each cell of the IT security training matrix, there are a number of cells that can be used to build the course. There are 46 cells, but only specific cells are used for each course. I know I'm explaining something that you don't have a picture of, but I'll give you a picture in just a minute. Some course matrices use as few as 2 cells. The course matrix for an IT security officer or manager uses all 46 cells. Most matrices use just 7 to 10 cells. So here's what I'm talking about. This is the IT security matrix that's used in this special publication 816. So across the top, you have the 6 functional specialties of manage, acquire, design and development, implement and operate, review and evaluate, use, and other is sort of a catch-all for everything that doesn't fit into the other 6 areas. Down the side, you have the training areas: laws and regulations, security program, planning, management, system lifecycle security, initiation, development, testing, evaluation, implementation, operations, termination, and again, a catch-all of other. So the matrix is organized by 6 role categories or functional specialties. The functional specialties are across the top, and I just showed you that. The 6 categories allow a training course to be tailor fit to any audience and allows the course to address specific functions within a given role. And the example that we're going to take a look at is for a system administrator. A system administrator may manage the function or may administer or operate a system or several systems. Training course material should be organized by an individual's job function within the organization. So, the sixth category, so for manage, this is for individuals who manage IT-based functions. Acquire is that's for those who are involved in the acquisition process. Design and develop is for those who design and develop systems and applications. The operate category is for those who operate or administer IT systems. That would be your web servers, email servers, file servers, LANs, WANs, mainframes. The review and evaluate is for those who audit IT functions as part of your organization's internal controls program, internal review, or even an external audit program. And the use category is for people, those who use IT resources to do their job. So there you go, functional specialties. And this is the IT security matrix for a system administrator. And I know some of you may be listening in the car or listening just on earphones and not looking, but what you have is for a system administrator, they're going to need in the manage column, they're going to need to be involved, be trained on operations. In the design and development column, they'll need some training on implementation and operations but most of what this where the system administrator training is going to fall is in the implement and operate category. And if you look at this matrix, you'll see what I'm talking about. But to really understand it and grasp it, you'll need to take a look at the 816 publication or listen to the videos that I will do on that a bit later. So, in the sample training matrix, just to tell you what's happening, 10 cells will be developed into the course material. Each cell is a building block for the course material. Um, in this example, most of the cells fall in the implement and operate specialty or column because we assume that a system administrator will be running the system. Because this course will address system management, design, and development, some of the cells are also shown in these columns, and that's what I just went over with you. And I apologize for belaboring the point, but remember, guys, when I do these publications, I am following the publication as closely as possible. So you will get a lot of repetition, and I apologize for that, but that is by design. If I came to your organization to do a presentation, there would not be this much repetition involved. So keep that in mind. I'm following the publication. All right. So, some sources of training courses and material. First, decide if the material that you use for training is going to be developed in house or outsourced. If in house, and you can afford to allocate the necessary resources to develop training material, then you can use 816 to help you with that. If outsourcing, there are a number of vendors that sell off the shelf courses that are quite suitable for certain audiences, or you can have customized material developed for specific audiences and for specific areas in your company. Before you choose a vendor, make sure you thoroughly understand the training needs and so that you're able to determine if a prospective vendor's materials will meet those needs. And then also you want to maximize partnerships. Sometimes you can set up partnerships with universities and with community colleges, with professional organizations. Keep that in mind when you're looking at getting your staff trained, your IT security staff trained. Some questions that you want to consider um, when you're making the develop in-house or outsource decision around your training material. Do we have the in-house resources to do the job? And this includes, do you have the people with the right skills and enough people to actually do the work? Because you may have someone in-house who does know how to develop courseware, but they may not have time because their regular jobs are too demanding. Is it more cost effective to develop the material in-house versus outsourcing? The next question is there a budget in place? Do we have the money? Then do we have a person on staff that can serve as the contracting officer's technical representative and effectively monitor contractor activity? This is for the federal space. Next question, does the agency have the needed resources, and that's funding and money, funding and staff with the necessary expertise to maintain the material if it's developed by a contractor? Remember, the IT security space is changing. It changes almost every day. And so you can quickly have material that's obsolete or that definitely needs major updates. Do you have the staff and the budget to ensure that that happens? And does the course content sensitivity preclude the use of a contractor? There are certainly spaces where what you're training your people on is not is in-house information, or as my grandmama would say, that's house business. And in that case, you're not going to outsource. And then the last question is, does outsourcing allow for critical training delivery schedules to be met? If we have people that we need trained, say on a firewall, a specific firewall technology, we need these people trained by X date. Do we have time to deliver the training? Do we have time to develop material? Probably not. We need to go with the vendor's training. So those are your considerations when you're making that in-house outsource decision. And so I think that is the end. Yes, we talked about developing awareness material, selecting topics, sources of awareness material, training material development, a model for building your training courses. Again, that's special publication 816. And we talked about sources of training courses and materials. Next up in this series on Special Publication 850 will be part 4, implementing the awareness and training program. I hope that you will join me for that. I do want to say thank you guys so much for listening to me talk and teach you. I appreciate your time. I know you could be busy doing something somewhere else. I hope that you will like, subscribe, leave comments. I do read the comments, and I will get back with you. And have a great day.